Well, this is certainly proven to be a very hard video to do, and I've done very many different versions of it. You see, it's never been my intention on the channel to do a personal video like this for anyone. Like, it's mostly been talking about my experiences, relating it to stuff that I've gone through, and I suppose in some cases my view of the world and people and situations and everything else encompassing these things. I've been talking a lot about transformation recently and the dark night of the soul and a lot of things like this, and I think deep down there was something niggling at my own subconscious, and I'm not cold and callous and narcissistic enough to just close the door on someone without giving an explanation as to why. And since I figured you're still watching my videos, I figured I'd give you some sort of closure. Because if nothing else, you deserve it. And I think you probably need it more than anything. See, when I started doing proper videos on this channel, covering people with mental health disorders, personality disorders in particular, it was more to do with what I was going through at the time in a particular situation, and where I self-sacrificed and became a martyr, trying to understand someone that realistically never gave two fucks about me anyway. I was literally just a means to an end at all, if you'll excuse the expression. But I was. Now, the situation as it panned out, and it's given me a whole great deal of clarity, more so recently than ever. And it's something that maybe I should have picked up on years ago, but didn't. By years ago, I mean like approximately 3 years ago. You see, in that particular, air quotes, romantic relationship where I've spoken about, they mirror back how you are to them and they copy your traits, and so technically in a intimate romantic relationship setting you end up falling in love with yourself. I can't think of anything more narcissistic to say. But it's true. But it's true because they're just replicating what you do, right? So when it came about, the ending of that relationship, and to understand it better for me at the time, well, I became overwhelmed with cognitive dissonance, and whereas I was being treated like a piece of shit, something that they'd stepped on, someone that they didn't have any respect for, someone that they didn't really care about in the grand scheme of things, I was, like many other guys out there, replaceable, disposable. Things like respect, honour, loyalty are not things in the narcissistic vocabulary. They can talk about them a great deal, but when it actually comes down to it, they have got absolutely zero to offer for the other person, because that is not what they want the other person for, in a lot of cases. Sometimes it is literally just for that, what is referred to as narcissistic supply. Someone they can treat like shit and get away with it, because then they can put on a facade of how hurt they are and how you did this, and no accountability from their point, even though 98% of the time they instigated the problem in the first place. But it was never their fault somehow, right? And when you're highly empathetic, and I mean empathetic or empathic or whatever the case is, however the word is pronounced, and you're very sympathetic towards another person, realising that they have an issue that they might not necessarily be able to control, Well, it puts you in that position of going through cognitive dissonance, in whereas you know the situation isn't good for you, but you still allow it to happen. You lower your boundaries. And at the same time you go through Stockholm Syndrome, whereas you practically feel like you've been, I suppose, kidnapped, as it were. And to give an example of that, in that particular relationship, I willingly moved away from a lot of my friends and family in order to be with someone that I thought I loved. But the truth be told, I just loved the reflection of me. That's what it come down to. That is the best explanation I can give of narcissistic relationship. That is just it. Now, like I said, you look at the traits, and whereas they mirror how you are, they try and copy and emulate you. You know, they become like a carbon copy, and sometimes they do it maybe because it's for their own personal gain, material gain, financial gain, maybe. It's quite likely, quite possible. But then there are other times when there are people out there who, I will describe them as a lost soul, with all due respect, in whereas they don't know who they are. They don't know who to be, and then they see someone, and then they attach themselves to that person, and then they try and replicate everything about them. Well, this happened to me again. And for the person watching this video that you know who this is for. You know this is for you. You know I'm talking about you. And I'm probably, me in communication right about now isn't a good thing. I might come across as being quite cold and callous, and it's not my intention. But like I said, I figured I'd give you at least some sort of closure. So at least you understand why I've had to do what I've had to do, which is close the door and bolt it and not look back. It's because I can't deal with it anymore. It's as simple as that. There's things going on that I can't help with because, for starters, I'm not trained in those departments. I'm just not. And I can't take the pressure. I couldn't take the pressure as a lover with a previous relationship many years ago, and I've come to the realisation now that I can't even take the pressure as a friend. Now, some might argue that makes me a bad friend, and it's like, well, not really. You see, one of the things that I've always said when it comes to relationships, more so in accordance with intimate relationships, is it's not your, mine, or anyone else's job to fix another person that might have issues. That is their job. They are responsible for themselves. And if they continue to conduct themselves in such a manner where it puts them in a position of being isolated from people that did actually care at one point, instead of choosing the it's always the same old shit for me routine, or putting yourself in that victim mentality, as a lot of people do, it actually takes hard work to fix yourself. And a lot of people don't want to do it. You know, and it's like that description once given by another content creator, Stardust in particular, and whereas he was given an explanation of the guy that's got all these muscles and, you know, he's worked extremely hard to get there. What people don't see is, prior to him becoming that, is he was like an overweight fat guy that couldn't walk up a set of stairs without getting out of breath. But it took patience, time and determination, and going up and down them stairs, going out on bicycle rides, working out at the gym, doing literally whatever it took to get to that final position where he could finally look in the mirror and feel good about himself. But what people don't see is the pitfalls, the amount of times that guy fell off or fell down, however you want to describe it. And whereas he went out binge eating or drinking or whatever it was that made him increase the weight, and therefore fall back on the effort that he put in prior, and then he had to start again from ground zero. But that's just it. It takes starting from ground zero and building yourself up to become the person that you want to become. And trying to become someone else or trying to become someone you're not is absolutely fucking pointless, because you know deep down that the authenticity of being that person isn't there. And whereas you have to really, really put the effort in. And sometimes that means eating a bit of humble pie and realising that there are issues that maybe you are going to need help with in some way, shape or form. And it's not something that friends or family members can help you with. Sometimes it might even include professional from spiritual guidance, might be church, who knows, whatever. It could even be professional help in some cases. I mean, after all the time and seeing things pan out the way that they have, I just couldn't take it anymore. It drove me insane. Well, not literally, but it used to drive me crazy. And it's not that I didn't like what was reflected back. It was that thing of be yourself. Don't try and be someone else. Be yourself. Learn who you are, who you really are. Take the time out and do the work. I hope this does give some form of closure for you. All the best, man. Peace out.